BowlCanada.ca now to get rolling. Let's make memories one frame at a time.
Want sports talk on the go?
You can listen to 1440 on the AM dial or stream us on your mobile device through apps like Radio Player, iHeart, and Stingray Music.
Edmonton sports fans,
turn to Sports 1440.
1440.
What keeps Alberta business moving? It's pallets. Whether you're shipping, manufacturing, or looking for in-house storage solutions. Hi, it's Andrew with the Pallet Recycler here in Edmonton, and we've been providing reliable, affordable, recycled, and custom pallets for local businesses for the past 30 years. Contact the Pallet Recycler at 825-474-1981 to find out why recycled pallets are the most cost-effective way to move and store your product. Learn about our recycling program as well at thepalletrecycler.ca.
Hey, you know winter is really freaking cold, right? So play it smart. Don't get caught freezing in your car with your pants down and no power. At Big Toy Shop right now, lead-acid batteries are just $129. $129 is a great price for a good start. Big Toy Shop. Power up and save some bucks at Big Toy Shop, 8315 Argyle Road, 780-298-2797.
The crowd rolling and goal sirens keep you going, but it doesn't always keep you winning. The season is in full swing. The battles are tough. The hits are unflinching, and your gear is feeling it. Don't let worn-down equipment hold you back in the third period. St. Albert Source for Sports is here to make sure your gear is always ready to play as hard as you do. Keep your edge with the experts at St. Albert Source for Sports. Our Pro Sharp approved technicians will get your skates back to game-winning condition. Busted a blade or cracked a stick? From expert skate repairs to the latest gear, St. Albert Source for Sports has what it takes to keep you in the game and playing your best. From the first face-off to the final showdown. Stay strong all season long and keep your head in the game, not on your gear. Visit St. Albert Source for Sports today. St. Albert Source for Sports, your source for hockey, bikes, baseball, and more for over 36 years.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free Radio Player app and listen wherever you go.
Good morning. Wow. Josh Fenwick, welcome to the Chili Studios. We have some relief on the way, but this has been a buster this week, hasn't it?
It's been cold? No one told me.
Well, you've been so busy.
Oh,
you probably haven't even noticed.
I was just working up a sweat back here all day, every day.
Well,
no,
you're in the salt mines.
Absolutely frigid out. Got to warm. It takes me like half an hour to warm up the bed before fall asleep right next to the window. Super chilly in there.
Well, you know what? Get some insulation. Get another quilt. And the nice thing is Monday +4, freezing rain. You can't make it up in Alberta. Then we go back to more of our normal stuff. Happy holidays, everybody, and welcome to Hoop City with Paul Sir. I'm glad to be back in the chair this week. So grateful to Doug McLean, who we're going to have on a bit later, and I'll explain why in just a moment. But Josh, you and Doug did a fantastic job, and it was fun to talk to you from my my hometown down on my family farm down in Iowa, and really enjoyed the conversation. And everybody out there, I hope you've had a great week in spite of the cold. All of your holiday plans are coming together, and we're really looking forward today to be able to talk basketball with you, because we've got a lot to talk about in terms of local content with the big announcement this week in the CEBL, the venerated hero, really, of the CEBL, the Edmonton Stingers, Xavier Moon, who made such an impact on our team, announcing that he was going to be taking his talents to Winnipeg and he'll be a Sea Bear next year. And boy, Josh, I almost had to stumble when I saw the news, because the expectations, honestly, locally, was that it was pretty much a slam dunk that if Xavier came back to the CEBL, that it would be in Edmonton. And of course, those assumptions weren't based on facts. They were based on the fact that Xavier would make the occasional appearance here. The relationship between Xavier and the Stinger organization and the community of Edmonton has been extremely positive. But that isn't the reality. And we're going to be talking with Joey Slattery from Winnipeg. Joey does a ton of media work, radio, TV, with the Sea Bears, his podcast. And Joey will be joining us and talking about, I think, the gleeful Winnipeg Sea Bear organization with this announcement. And we'll also bring back Doug McLean. Doug and I have been longtime partners handling the Stinger broadcasts here at the Expo Center for a long time. And I think Doug and I will be able to give a bit of a requiem of Xavier's departure and what its significance is in terms of the Stinger organization. But I use the term electric and eclectic today on our show because we do have an eclectic lineup, but it's a great, great lineup. Next segment, we're going to be having in a friend of mine, Kevin Lehman. Kevin is a long-time Missouri Valley NCAA Division I broadcaster, longtime coach as well, has sons playing Division I basketball. He's going to join us in the second segment today. We're going to talk about the NCAA scene right now because it is an interesting scene. NCAA basketball today compared to pre-pandemic, it's two different worlds. It's turned from the traditional NCAA of scholarships, heavy regulation, transfer had started to liberalize a bit at that time, to the point now where everything is different. It is really a professional experience that is trickling down into high school, trickling down in some respects even further, as absurd as that sounds, but it all starts with NCAA. So we'll talk with Kevin Lehman about that. Our third segment will focus on the Xavier Moon situation. The deep dive for this week, I'm bringing in my son, Steve Sir. Steve, of course, Ross Shep, great, long time, had a wonderful Division I career, 5-on-5 pro career, still continues in basketball at age 43, both as a player and as a coach, primarily as a coach for the Mongolian 3x3 program. Also, though, working with Team Canada on 3x3 as well. Steve will be coming in to join us for the deep dive today. So, welcome to the program, Josh Fenwick. Why don't we start with a little bit of Three from Deep? Yeah, absolutely. Before we do that, sorry for interrupting. Let's do the poll question. Absolutely. So, the poll question this week, very interesting one. A lot of hubbubaloo around this. How many wins will the OKC Thunder have this regular season? 65, 70, 73, or will they break the record? And our option is 76, something that has been thrown out there. So, Hoop City Show on X, the Everything app. It's all happening on X. Get out there, give us your thoughts. That's our poll question today. So it is a great question, and let's go to Three from Deep because it ties right into that. Yeah, absolutely. So, question number one for Three from Deep. The OKC Thunder are 24-1. Steve Kerr comments that they could be the best team of all time. They could break the 2016 Warriors win record. Could they become the best team of all time, Paul? Well, the interesting thing about Steve Kerr's comments is if there's anybody who is qualified to make those comments, it would be Steve Kerr, because he was on the last two record-breaking teams as a player with the Chicago Bulls when they won 72, and as the coach of the Golden State Warriors, and it was 2016, right, Josh? When they won 73?
They sure did.
Yeah, so Steve Kerr comes at this with a completely different perspective than any of us would have because of his involvement with the two previous records. Those are powerful comments, and of course, Kerr made them after another drubbing, this time on his Golden State Warriors by the Thunder, which is not just commonplace, but now expected. And he made the comments afterwards that he would expect that they have a great shot at breaking the Golden State record of 73. My own personal take is absolutely the big if, always. And I almost feel at times so redundant in making the obvious statement that providing there aren't any serious key injuries, but that's always the qualifier. So I think going forward, Josh, I'm going to stop saying that because I really feel like a broken record. Of course, that can impact any team's performance over the course of the year with key injuries. So that being said, I would expect 75 to 78 wins from this team if they stay healthy. They are, and then I would take it a step further. Can they be the greatest team of all time? I would say absolutely at this point. They have the potential by the end of this season to be the greatest team of all time. This is what I find interesting about it, because regular season success and postseason failure might be the greatest. What's the right way to put this? That can be the greatest failure of a team. And I'm thinking particularly, Josh, if you recall the New England Patriots, when they had that fabulous team. Was it one loss that they had during the regular season?
They had no losses.
No losses. It was undefeated. And then they go down to the New York Giants, I believe, in a absolutely shocking loss in the playoffs. And you know, when you take a team like that, and here's my scenario. They break the record. They have 78 wins, they being the Thunder. And then they face the dreaded Dark Lord, Nikola Jokic. And they get defeated in 7 games in the playoffs. How absolutely devastating that would be. That's the only scenario I see at this present time that could dethrone this Oklahoma City Thunder. What are your thoughts?
I see where you're coming from, and I really want to be like, yep, the Thunder are going to break this record, whatever, health, otherwise, let's throw that out. It's one of those things, like the conversation we've been having this year at the station, to loop it back around to football, to link those things, is that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs might miss the playoffs this year. They have like a 6% chance now or something like that. And all signs point to, yep, they're going to miss the playoffs. But it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Andy Reid, it's Travis Kelce. You literally can't count them out until they have the little E next to their name. Until the Thunder actually get that 74th win, I will be like, I don't know if they can break the record, but I think all signs are pointing to, yeah, this team is honestly one of the deepest and greatest assembled all through the draft and a couple through trades. Shout out to Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein. They fully can, like, when we get to that 74 win thought, it's like playing a video game. Like, oh, yeah, I put all the superstars onto one team and they won 81 games. They lost once to the Portland Trailblazers in overtime on a back-to-back in October, and then they didn't lose again. I think they can break the record, but I just like the idea just makes me sick.
The idea, that's I have to ask the question. The idea of them breaking the record makes you sick?
Just like, not the idea of that team specifically, but just seeing a team that's that good that they'll break the record, and they could do so in such spectacular fashion. The Warriors in 2016 only broke the record by 1 game. We're talking about the chance that, like, this team breaks it by 3 wins or 4 wins.
Yeah,
maybe.
They could be 79-3.
Yeah, right.
That
like,
is the way you feel right now.
Yeah, like they are absolutely rolling. And the only man, I agree with you, the only man I think can take them down is Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets, because that man is the Denver Nuggets.
If I had the knowledge and I guess the desire to do something with AI right now, I would definitely do a video of Nikola Jokic with the Darth Vader cape and the lightsaber.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
taking down the Thunder, because that's how I envision him right now. I'll just a couple of thoughts on your comments, and of course they're very fair comments. Until they do it, they don't do it. But the way that Oklahoma, this is what I love about Oklahoma City. I love the fact that this team built itself from the ground floor up. They've had a fabulous organization for a long time. I think an overlooked organization. My gosh, they had James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Durant on that team. And Kevin Durant, leaving and departing in particular, Harden, Westbrook, not so much as Durant, who was the heart and soul of the OKC Thunder. The way he walked away and tiptoed across the country to go to Golden State. You're going to hear Durant's name later in the program when we have a particular question in our Give Me Five segment in the second part of our deep dive. But I love the way OKC has built this team. And the thing that I love the most about them is they're doing this on defense, and they're doing it with and without superstars. They have a great blend right now, a unique blend of superstar talent with arguably the MVP. We'll talk about that in just a moment or a bit later, also in the deep dive. But they have the MVP, but they have a first-team All-Star in Jalen Williams. And Chet Holmgren is going to be one of the great players and is becoming one of the great players in the league. But Lou Dort's a role player, a physically imposing role player, but they're filled with role players and talented role players that accept their role on both ends of the court. They have a historic defense. They're almost impossible to score effectively on. And when you look at Gilgeous-Alexander sitting out as many minutes as he has and putting up the numbers in the efficient way that he is, it's one of the all-time great seasons of all time. Let's go to question number 2.
Yeah, number 2. Let's try to get away from the OKC Thunder and the absolute mushroom cloud of a season that they are casting over the NBA. The Spurs, the Pistons, the Magic, the Knicks, they're all good.
They're very good. And I'm going to start with the last name you gave, and I'll actually loop them into the Magic, because the Knicks and the Magic are going to be facing off in the NBA Cup for the Eastern Conference to go to the finals that'll take place next Tuesday in Las Vegas. The games take place tomorrow in Las Vegas as well. Knicks are really good. Jalen Brunson, my gosh, the guy, he's so incredible to watch. He's not a vertical player. He's a horizontal player. He's undersized, but crafty skill. I think he embodies what's taking place in the NBA right now is the blend of athleticism and skill that we've never seen before. I would say it's groundbreaking. I don't want to use the term historic. I'd say groundbreaking, because the way that players are playing now, they're playing with the ball, with skill sets and footwork and variety of shots that we finally, we're going away. And I've bagged on analytics for a long time, but we've gone away from the 3-year layup crap. And we're now into real basketball where mid-range matters and variety matters and setting your teammates up matters. We have a wealth now, a growing number of highly skilled players, of which Jason Brunson is one, who play with such great interpretation. I think that's it's almost an artistic interpretation of what your defender is doing and how you're going to counter that defender. So Knicks and the Magic are good. Pistons are a revelation. They have 142 yesterday. Cade Cunningham, one of the recent MVP polls that I read, Cade is in the top 5 now. A remarkable player, remarkable season. The turnaround of that franchise that just 2 years ago, what did they lose? 38 in a row?
Yeah.
My God. To have that kind of turnaround is unbelievable.
I agree. Like, they're absolutely rocking over there in Detroit. They have to be happy with the way that all their other sports franchises are playing right now. You can be happy with the Tigers.
Yeah, the Tigers didn't. Now, did I read where the Tigers were letting their best pitcher go because of money?
Yeah, they don't. They're a cheap franchise. They want to let go of Tariq Skubal, 2-time Cy Young winner, by the way, best pitcher in baseball, and they're squabbling over $250 million. This is for a different time. I'm going to get too fired up about cheap owners in baseball.
Calm down. Let's bring the team in. Let's get a bag for Josh so he can breathe into a timeout.
You want to go to number 3?
No. I got to touch on the Spurs. The Spurs are, if they are, I am so curious to see where the Spurs are a year from now. They might be the new Detroit Pistons, and they might be the team that could come up and get into the mix, into the talk of being able at some point to contest the OKC Thunder. They are good. They are fun to watch. Robertson, their rookie, is incredible. Obviously, his dad was a great NBA player. But this kid is really good, and he fits into that mold that I was describing with Jalen Brunson. His abilities with the ball, his footwork, he's 1 year at university, and he's in the NBA now, and he looks like a 10-year vet. Watch out for the San Antonio Spurs, and they're doing this without Wemby. That's what's most exciting. They have a generational player in Wemby that has been out. Cornette, what a great acquisition. That was a genius acquisition, which almost puts them on the level with OKC in terms of intelligence in building their roster. Through the draft, taking the long view and not selling out. And the Spurs have a reputation for that and have been willing to suffer for years and years and years to get back to this point. So the Spurs are a very exciting team.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. They also have elite nicknames on that. When Wembanyama and Luke Kennedy are playing, they got French Vanilla, the Slash Bros with Stephon Castle, and that one, De'Aaron Fox. There we go. Thank you, Manib. Manib's here watching how
here
things
with us.
And
we're going to talk, Manib, in our final segment. I want to touch on your show. So,
all right. Is it possible, I guess, as we were talking about the Thunder, going back under that cloud, is it possible that the Spurs will become the 90s versions of the Knicks to the Michael Jordan-led Chicago Bulls?
Could be.
Always fighting to go to the finals, that gritty team where it's like they give the Thunder the most trouble every year in the playoffs, but they just can never get it done due to one thing or the other.
I don't read them like that, and here's why. I think they have the potential to be a more complete team than the Knicks were at that time. The Knicks had talent deficiencies at a couple of positions. Number one, John Starks. Starks was such a streaky player, and I think he's one of those guys that you can't win a championship with John Starks. He far exceeded what I think his ability would have dictated his NBA career would have looked like. Ewing was, of course, a Hall of Fame center. They had some great players around him, but I think the Spurs have the opportunity to be a much better team than that, because like with Castle, Wembanyama, with the young players that they've got, I think they have the ability to be a really, really good team along the lines of, not quite as deep as, but along the lines of what OKC is. And I hearken that to Robertson and then to, of course, Wembanyama's continued development into a dominant force in the league. Final question before we go to break.
Final question. What is going on with the Raptors? They are struggling. Is RJ gone? There's a bunch of rumors around him. Have the Raptors regressed from their hot start to the season?
Definitely. Record speaks for itself. They are no longer the free-flowing. They're not able to impose their will right now. Again, they started poorly, had that 7-game stretch, asterisk, not against great teams. And now they're back on that streak, they look very vulnerable again. Grady Dick has been dreadful. This certainly doesn't hinge on him, but they need contributions from him and other bench players. I think some of the other players have stuttered a bit. I still have question marks about Brandon Ingram's locker room culture building character. That's just me. I'm probably one of the only people making as much of it as I have been by a couple of his outbursts, but that's never good for a team. Scotty Barnes is their best player. Scotty's really good. He's not at that top 10 elite level, so he's not able to carry the team. They miss RJ. I know it's a financial decision that they're going to be making, but I would rather see them keep RJ. I really would, because they were going well with him. I'd hate to see them break it up. On the other hand, Bobby Webster's shrewd, and if they're going to make him, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they make a move. They are struggling. They need to get back on track. I think they can, but a lot of it's going to hinge on whether RJ comes back or they make a deal. We're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, we're going to talk NCAA Division I basketball with Kevin Lehman, longtime Missouri Valley and Division I color commentator. We're going to have a great conversation because the NCAA is very, very interesting this year. So come on back on this cold, frosty morning, getting warmer outside here on Hoop City with Paul Sir on your sports leader, Sports 1440.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440. Powered by Subaru. Engineered for Canadian winters. Visit Subaru.ca.
Now for today's holiday special, Legacy Heating and Cooling saves Christmas. Santa's furnace broke down in the shop last night, and the elves couldn't make any toys, that's right, so Santa called up his pals at Legacy Heating. And ho, 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 golly gee, 1 year, no payments, interest-free, and the elves are working merrily with a brand new furnace from Legacy. Happy holidays from Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Take the pain out of airport parking with Park to Go, your first-class parking experience. Book self-serve and valet parking and save up to 30%. Book now with promo code RADIO. That's RADIO.
Hard to believe it's already that time of year again. Time to get your festive aluminum pole at Metal Supermarkets, where the staff will be completing feats of strength to get your metal ready without any grievances. When your project needs a festive miracle, Metal Supermarkets offers in-house bending, often by the next day. Plus, metal cut to your exact specifications, fast. The convenience stores for Southside, West End, metalsupermarkets.com.
What keeps Alberta business moving? It's pallets. Whether you're shipping, manufacturing, or looking for in-house storage solutions. Hi, it's Andrew with the Pallet Recycler here in Edmonton, and we've been providing reliable, affordable, recycled, and custom pallets for local businesses for the past 30 years. Contact the Pallet Recycler at 825-474-1981 to find out why recycled pallets are the most cost-effective way to move and store your product. Learn about our recycling program as well at thepalletrecycler.ca.
Ah, the melodic sounds of Last Christmas, I Gave You My Heart. Well, I'm going to be talking right now to a good friend that I haven't had the chance to talk with, who has given his heart to the game of basketball, Kevin Lehman. Kevin, how's that for an introduction?
That's pretty good, Paul, but it's been a while. Good to hear your voice.
Man, it is great to hear yours as well. I was just in the state of Iowa, down on the Frosty Farm in Cresco this past week for a family gathering. Thought of you, and I thought, this has gone on way too long. I've got to get Kevin on. And everybody who listens to this program knows what a homer I am for the state of Iowa. But I wanted to touch first with you, Kevin, on the matchup this past week between, well, the University of Iowa, both men and women played against the Iowa State men and women this past week. And of course, to people not familiar with their programs, maybe that would just be passé. But 3 of the 4 are ranked in the top 25, and the University of Iowa men's was in the top 25 until they took a drubbing by Michigan State. But let's just talk about the men's game. Iowa gave the Iowa State men a really good game after Iowa State beat the then number one ranked Purdue Boilermakers like dogs in West Lafayette just recently. So talk about that matchup and talk about the quality of those two programs.
Well, Paul, you and I are native Iowans, so we know how much that game means to Iowans. And they have what they call the Cy-Hawk Series, in which Cyclones swept it this year. I think the first time ever where they won in wrestling. And we know Iowa's had numerous national championships in wrestling. They won in the football game, and they won in men's and women's basketball. But the men's basketball, Hilton Coliseum is one of the best venues in the country, right up there with Cameron Indoor, Allen Fieldhouse, you name it. Hilton takes a second to none. So to go in there, Iowa Hawkeyes, first-year coach Ben McCollum, and give them a game, I think surprised a lot of people here in Iowa, and it really gave hope for this Iowa program under new leadership that it can make some noise this year.
Well, it did, and Iowa State is an established program now, kind of a perennial top 10 to 15 program. I think they're ranked number 4 right now, undefeated, and like you said, impressive for Iowa because the new coach coming from Drake in his first year brought a lot of Missouri Valley talent. And that's near and dear to your heart. How has the transition been for some of the Missouri Valley kids into this higher level of play of going up to the, really going up to the big time?
Well, Paul, I do a lot of Valley games, so I had about a dozen of Drake's games last year where Ben McCollum was the first-year coach. I think they went 31-4, beat Missouri in the first round of the tournament before succumbing to Tech in the second round. But we all kind of knew McCollum has a great track record, 4 national championships at Northwest Missouri State, which is a Division II school. But he brought a lot of his players from Northwest Missouri State to Drake, and they won that league. And then he brought them 6 of them here to Iowa. And in that game against Iowa State, 4 of those Drake transfers started, along with Cooper Kotz, so one of 2 holdovers from the previous Iowa staff. So I think we know the Valley, and you know the Valley, that has excellent basketball, but there's been a talent drain because everyone's grabbing those players at the higher level. So for them to go into Hilton Coliseum, and I said, first of all, you had to get through the first 4 minutes at Hilton because it's so loud in there. You got to be able to weather that storm, and then you've got to control tempo. And they did both those things and hung in this game and had a chance. I think they were down 3 with the ball or down 4 in the last minute, but had missed a shot and had to foul. Therefore, they end up losing by 4. But a low-scoring game is what's helped the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Well, and I think that's a testament to McCollum's ability to translate his defensive strategy from D2 to Drake, now to Iowa, because to go in and hold that Iowa State team to 73 points, I think, it's that's a remarkable accomplishment. I just want to touch on Sturtz, the point guard from Iowa. If I could tell any young player on who you should model your game after, if you're a guard, I would say, look at this kid and you should model your game after him. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, interesting young man, because I got to know him quite a bit last year. He was somewhat unrecruited coming out of high school in Liberty, Missouri, and committed to Northwest Missouri State Division II, saying, if I don't get a Division I offer, I'll go there. And I think he's a bit of a victim, Paul, of the COVID summer, is what Bennett Sturtz told me. That summer, everything was shut down when he was between his junior and senior year, so not many people saw him. And his grandparents are Kansas State grads. His parents are Kansas State grads. His girlfriend was a Kansas State pom-pom. They did not recruit him. I had the game last year where they played Kansas State. Drake did in the T-Mobile Center in downtown KC, in which they beat Kansas State.
Sweet
Drake
revenge.
two overtimes. And he really put his name on national circuit right then. But 6'4", and I had friends that are NBA scouts that wanted to come see him play, and they said his analytics, this was last year, are off the charts. But when you watch him, he doesn't look that athletic, doesn't look that quick, but he is. Remember Jeff Hornacek from Iowa State?
Absolutely.
Played for a long time. It kind of reminds you of him. more athletic than you think, 6'4", but his best attribute, Paul, is his ability to think the game and control the tempo. He's very humble, unassuming young man, but he understands basketball as good as anyone I've ever broadcast a game for.
We could do, I think, a whole segment on the way he plays the game because of how he plays off ball, how he doesn't waste. He's not running around. He doesn't waste any motion, any energy. Everything's purposeful. He goes from slow to fast, fast to slow, really, really quickly. But Kevin, I've got so many other questions. I've got to ask you this. Long time. I mean, you've been in the game for such a long time. The game today, even compared to pre-COVID, is unrecognizable in terms of the structure, not the game on the court as much. That's changing, but the NCAA structure it's just blown wide open, hasn't it? And now with NIL money, the way the transfer portal works, you've got a completely different basketball landscape, really. From your vantage point, Kevin, let's start at 30,000 feet. Overall, is it positive? Is it negative? I know I know it's a lot more nuanced than that, but what's your overall impression of the changes that have taken place?
Well, here's the positive, and I hear this from my ESPN executives. The top-level schools, the Floridas, the Kansas, Purdue's, you go right down the list, Houston's, they can plug in holes where they're weak if they need a quick fix by going to the transfer portal. Therefore, at the top, along with that and the fact that now you can make money, so if you're a second-round pick in the NBA projected, you can stay and make more money, more guaranteed money in college. Therefore, I think the upper echelon teams are better because of that. There's been a huge talent drain in the mid-majors because they get poached. Leagues like the American, the Valley, the A10, there's Mountain West. Their players are poached and they're taken. I had the Virgin Islands, Oregon State. When I was doing the prep work, I'm seeing that they all had their high, the returning players, in that Vegas tournament in the season last year, the Crown tournament. And I asked the coach, I found out the top 5 guys went in the portal. They didn't even play in the postseason play. And here's a number for you, Paul. They were getting paid, those 5 players at Oregon State, $450,000 at Oregon State. This year, they're making a combined $4.5 million.
What we've got, Kevin, is, and I think, boy, you couldn't have summarized it any better than that, because it's top down, haves and have-nots, and the pressure, the downward pressure now. The top schools that have the alumni, that have the funding, that have the money, they, like you said, they can go out and they can find the players that used to have to transfer and sit out a year if they transferred at all, where now that isn't the case. And players can play 4 schools in 4 years. JUCO now doesn't count against your eligibility. How hard is it now for high school kids to get recruited, unless you're someone like a Boozer or, you know, the elite level kids, of course, that can step in and contribute right away? They're still going to be recruited. Bigs are going to be recruited. I think if you're a guard who's really good, like take a Sturtz again, that's the kind of kid that now might have a hard time coming out of high school, getting recruited certainly into a high major program. But I think that's where I think the turmoil is taking place, because now you're getting NIL trickling down to mid-majors having to pay, to low majors having to pay, to D2 schools having to pay. You know, like it really, really, I think it creates an awful lot of imbalance. But at the high major level, my gosh, I've been watching games and you go, holy smokes, these teams are really good, and they're really deep, and they're really complete.
Yeah, just what I pointed out before, you know, that combined with the fact that you don't have to go to the NBA. So you've got more of those guys sticking around. Here's another thing that's happened, Paul. The mid-majors have recruited a better class of freshmen because the high majors are going to go to the portal rather than taking kids out of high school. So, for example, in Northern Iowa had their best recruiting class as far as the numbers and the rankings go, because they're getting guys now that may be ranked 100 to 175, 150 to 225, which they couldn't get before. Now, the problem is, it's not a problem, but they recruit them this way. We're going to keep you for 2 years, develop you, then you can go make your big money. So, in effect, the mid-majors have become a junior college platform where they're developing players, and they know they're not going to keep them. There's a few that are very loyal. Titan Anderson was, runner-up player of the year in the Valley last year. He stayed 5 years at Northern Iowa, had opportunities to go, didn't. So you're seeing that happen. But here's the big picture, Paul. NCAA tournaments, fewer mid-major upsets, and that's what made that tournament so great. You're seeing fewer of those happen. And here's one for you. You saw all the football coaches that got fired because of the expansion of the football playoff. If they expand the NCAA tournament to 76 teams, this is going to happen. If you're a high major program and you're not in the tournament, you're going to be looking for a new job because the pressure is going to mount. Hey, 76 teams, you better get yourself in the field.
You know, what's interesting is I look at players, or I look at coaches rather, Tony Bennett. This just isn't his thing anymore at Virginia, the great coach at Virginia. I think he walked away primarily because of the way that the whole landscape had changed. For a lot of veteran coaches who were really effective, this is running a business, not necessarily running a basketball program. Always has been that way. Let's be real here about it. But the added level of the financial management of a basketball program and the way that affects your recruiting, the complexity of going to the portal to fill in gaps like you're talking about, and the shifts. But other coaches, and I'm thinking particularly of Tom Izzo and his ability to adapt to the new landscape effectively, that's I think also a real interesting part of that. Some of it's been relatively seamless, and it seems to be settling in. And to be quite honest, Kevin, I'm surprised. I'm surprised at how positive overall this really is. And that is just the quality of the product of teams on the floor, because the quality, using the term quality again, the quality in the top 50 is really unbelievable.
Yeah, you got games today like Arizona and Alabama matching up, Tech and Arkansas. Yeah, those are high-level games. But these coaches, the smart ones have done this. They've hired general managers and let the general managers deal with the money issue of it. And I've heard this, too. They're getting into analytics just like you do in the NFL and the NBA. What is a power forward worth? What is the value of this position? They're doing it in football now. The quarterback commands the most amount of money. Who's next? Is an offensive lineman, wide receiver? In basketball, I'm hearing the same thing. A skilled power forward like Joshua Jefferson, who plays for Iowa State, 6'9", point forward. Those guys have the highest value along with point guards. So it's becoming a real professionalized college sports, which is kind of sad because, we grew up where you played for the love of the school. You wore those colors. But I think that's going away. It's who's going to give me the most money? It's become very professionalized now, which I think is in the long run is something we're gonna miss.
I think it is too. And what I'd like to suggest to you, Kevin, is after the new year, the second hour of my program, I do what's called the deep dive, and we stay on for 2 segments, and we really go into the weeds. I'd like to get you back on and to go into those weeds with you, because my concern is the trickle-down effect on how this is changing how youth programs, which are already, I think, a dog's breakfast in terms of AAU, club basketball, school ball, all of those things combined into one. I think how youth are motivated, coached, and where their expectations now are changing. And I would say categorically on my part, a lot of it's not for the better. And I'd really love to have a deep discussion with you about that in the new year. So can we plan on that?
Yeah, Paul. And here's something else to throw in there too. Look at how many European players are coming into college basketball now, because they can make as much money here as a college player as they can playing professionally in Europe. And I've heard the coaches talk about how much they like coaching foreign players because their system is so much different. They grew up in club sports. It's all team aspects. And the big thing here, I guess, they don't have as much individual development. But the fact that in the States, you go up in AU programs where, hey, if I lose, I get another game in 4 hours. Europeans don't play that way. So the team concept is so much bigger in Europe, and trying to win for the team versus the individual accolades that the AAU programs here manifest.
Amen. Hallelujah. You are preaching to the choir, brother, because I totally agree with you. Because I completely agree with that. It is a factory. It's a manufacturing. It's a turnstile. And it also, in terms of development, that's something I want to talk about too, is just, you see it in the NBA, the higher skilled players with the ball, with the versatility, footwork, range of shots, etc. A lot of them are foreign born, and certainly more American players are developing those skill sets too. But European players are not just pick and roll, kind of one-dimensional players. And I think that's why they are so successful and so coveted. Sorry that we have to end this conversation right now, Kevin, but I will look forward to talking with you early in the year. By the way, Cricky is overseas again playing, and he says to say hi. I sent him a text message, said you were going to be on.
Love that kid.
Yeah, he is great. Kevin Lehman, have a wonderful Christmas with you and your family, and I'll look forward to talking to you again in the new year.
Yeah, Paul, reach out. Let me know. We'll do it again soon. And the same to you. Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Thanks so much. Kevin Lehman, Missouri Valley and Division I commentator, joining us here on Hoop City. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to do the Requiem for Xavier Moon's departure and a landing in Winnipeg here on your sports leader, Sports 1440.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440. Powered by Subaru. Built for real-life confidence. Visit Subaru.ca.
Life is delicious when you shop El Safadi Brothers Mediterranean Supermarket. Hurry in for this week's specials.
Greek feta cheese, 100 grams, sale priced at just $1.19.
Willie and Anwar, thank you for supporting El Safadi Brothers Mediterranean Supermarket. 2 locations to serve you.
Born from work, built for play. Carhartt's all-new Super Ducks Tech Jackets are built for hard-working people who can't sacrifice mobility for durability. This ultra-tough gear fights off wind, snow, and cold, while full-swing technology flexes with every move and still packs 3M insulation for maximum warmth. Try your new Carhartt Super Ducks at JobSite Workwear. 3 locations in Edmonton and online at jobsiteworkwear.ca.
JobSite Workwear, tough gear for tough jobs.
A little ice and snow can't stop your Canadian spirit, especially when you start at the Lawnmower Hospital. Come find a wide selection of top-performing snowblowers, sweepers, and backpack blowers from the best names in snow removal, like Toro, Ariens, Echo, and BCS. Don't forget to pick up Pet Safe, Plant Safe Ice Melt, along with Aspen Fuel to keep you clearing. The Lawnmower Hospital. Visit lawnmowerhost.com.
The Lawnmower Hospital.
Listen to over 500 radio stations from anywhere in Canada with Radio Player Canada, the must-have app that's as Canadian as you are. Friendly, ready to party, great company. Enjoy every type of radio station, anywhere, anytime. Listen through your phone, Sonos, Google Chromecast, Google Home, Amazon Echo, Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto. Download the Radio Player Canada app today. It's where Canadian radio plays.
Not your traditional Christmas carol, the Dropkick Murphys. They were one of my son Ben's favorite bands, and The Season's Upon Us is just a fantastic Christmas song. Welcome back to Hoop City with Paul Sir, Josh Fenwick behind the board, and this is a bit of a somber conversation we're going to have right now. I'd like to welcome into the program Joey Slattery from the Winnipeg Sea Bears, who have just announced the signing Xavier Moon. I think the CEBL's most celebrated player. Heck, the MVP award is named after him. And our good friend Brian Swain was talking with him the other day, Joey, and he said he might be the first player that we could have win the MVP award named after him.
Yeah. First off, Dropkick Murphys for trivia owned the oldest sports bar known in, I'm pretty sure, the world, but definitely North America. That was in Boston. But yes, and I actually asked him that, Paul, at the press conference, like, is there pressure? Because the trophy's literally designed after you. And he says, no pressure, not at all. So, I think that's going to be a narrative for us. I don't think that Xavier Moon is too worried about winning the trophy with his name on it. And of course, thanks for having me on today.
Joey, it's a pleasure to have you on. And you did the same for me the other day when I was still reeling in shock when we, in Edmonton, of course, this was something that struck to the heart. That's why I'm calling this segment a requiem. But talk about the impact on what already is such an amazing organization in the CEBL. And with all due respect to our wonderful organization and team here in Edmonton, I think the Winnipeg Sea Bear, because of the amount of fan support you have in the community, the arena you play in, that's you certainly have become the standard bearer of the CEBL of what a CEBL team can become in terms of its impact in the community. But talk about the impact of the signing of Xavier Moon on the Sea Bears for next year.
Well, I think it gets, first things first, it gets the star signing out of the way. This is a team that I think people, when they first started coming to Sea Bears games, they expected the continuity. There were a lot of stars on that first team that became stars in Winnipeg. No one bigger than Teddy Allen. Teddy Allen was Winnipeg's Xavier Moon, right? And he had won the MVP in his first season, or the MOP rather, in his first season. So it gives the fans that what they wanted. They want the star, and now the question is, how do you build around Xavier Moon? Further to that, this is a huge start for Mike Rainbow. Mike Rainbow is beginning a new era for the Winnipeg Sea Bears as general manager and head coach, and he hit it out of the park with his first move, right? A lot of speculation in terms of how this team's going to look. Mike Taylor had a habit of, bringing in stars almost in rotation, but to the point where fans couldn't keep up. So now the question is, can you keep the continuity with this team? Is Xavier here long-term, or is this a one and done? But regardless, for a guy like Mike Rainbow, who is the head coach at the University of Winnipeg, who's put a great program together there, he has that style of play, that college style. He wants to have a hard-nosed, hard-working team. He feels that Xavier Moon exemplifies that at the highest level. And now he's hoping that he can get the players that he wants a little easier when you have a guy like Xavier Moon, from what I hear, is also a great recruiter, right? So he's probably going to be throwing out names and influence on who he could bring to Winnipeg. But this is a team that has been here for 3 years. I know the organization's going through some big time changes. The president left. He's up here as an associate, so to speak, kind of helping out. But the owner has taken over on the interim basis as the president, and they are trying to build this team in a direction that, I get the impression they don't want to take the fans for granted. I think they get the feeling the honeymoon is now over. This is a legitimate team in the sports fabric of Winnipeg. And after last year's disappointment hosting championship weekend, not really playing too well throughout the season, getting the bye into the semifinal and still not making it to the final and getting that dream of, winning a championship in front of 15,000 people. I think there's a little bit of a chip on the shoulder here for the Sea Bears, and Xavier Moon's a great way to fill it.
Not bad. Not bad at all. And I think you've got, Joey, a foundational pillar that's certainly in your comments not lost on the Winnipeg organization. I think, from the standpoint for the league, going with objectivity and taking any Edmonton emotion, specific Edmonton emotion out of it. This is great for the league, I think, as well, because for all of the cachet that a number of players have had, there has been a lot of them having a lot of the stars, so to speak. And I think that's something the CEBL maybe is hoping to build on, is to get more stars that repeat playing in the league year after year, to get a star like Xavier Moon back in the league, the potential re-energizing of interest in the league, not just in the Winnipeg team, but in the league in general. I think that upside is great.
Well, certainly. I mean, how many players do you have coming back to the CEBL after they left the CEBL, signed a contract, and got significant time in the NBA? Xavier Moon was really the first dude to get in there and have a legitimate shot in the NBA, right? And then, unfortunately, he had an injury and he was playing in Russia last season. And I think a big part of this is a bit of the comeback tour, right? Go back to where you started to have that success. Xavier Moon made his name in the CEBL at the professional level, right? He didn't go to any major colleges. He's out of Moorhead State. He comes in as a relative no-name to Canadians for sure. And then he builds this brand in Canada. His uncle, Jamario Moon, who played for the Toronto Raptors, was the same way, right? He has an affinity for Canada and a love for Canada. He wanted to come back for that. For the league, it bodes well in a couple of ways. You have a guy that's been there and still thinks it's worthwhile to come back. We have seen, and you've seen this, I know for sure, because you've been involved with the Stingers since they got there, the talent level of the CEBL year over year is getting incrementally better. And I think the other part of this is the measuring stick. Is Xavier Moon going to be the player we remember him, right? He's coming off his first major injury. This guy's never had injuries. This has been his first real adversity in his career. He's 30 years old. Can he come back and play at the same level? And is that your measuring stick to see just how good the talent is got here in terms of the young Americans coming up, whether it's from the G League or, Europe, whatever the case may be. And just like, the timing is perfect because earlier this morning, Kyle Mangus, who played for the Vancouver Bandits last year, just got called up to the San Antonio Spurs, right? So now we have another player he was a role player. He wasn't the superstar in Vancouver, right? So we're seeing a guy who played a specific role, who was a great shooter on a great team, went to Austin to play for the Spurs G League team, and his stats are actually much better there. So this tells me that the CEBL is at a level now comparable and in some ways maybe even tougher than the G League. And players are starting to figure that out. With the current American rule as is, you only have a limited amount of Americans to play, to be on the roster, and then be on the active roster. It is a tight pool. So the Americans coming here are the best of the best that are still, inches away from the NBA for the most part. And the Canadians were getting the Canadian level of talent is just through the roof. I mean, I'm a few years out of university now. I hate to admit how long it's been, but there was no conversations 20 years ago of players, unless you were exceptional going pro anywhere. Now this is a reality. I mean, I cover, youth sports here in Manitoba, and there are guys like, yes, they go to school and they have their fallback, but they have dreams, realistic dreams to play pro. And the CEBL drives that.
Well, number one, by the way, could you let Steve in at the door? So, excuse me, taking care of a little business here for the next segment. I would caution you, Joey, to talk about being old and how many years you've been out of university, because you're talking to the wrong guy. There's no pity here whatsoever for your age, because you're a youngster.
I feel young. Thank you.
Well, you are. That's why. And but your points are well taken. And I think what the CEBL has become is the runway. And Xavier was the pioneer. And you lay out the realities of it. He's got to come and play in a much improved league. When I think of some of the guards that will be guarding him that have been that weren't in the CEBL in the first 3 years, that are in the CEBL now, it's going to make for great drama and theater on the court. So very, very excited about that. Joey, I've got to let you go. I'm going to let you go and bask again in your glory, and we will wallow a bit longer. We're going to do our requiem, then we're going to move on. But Joey, happy holidays. Thanks so much for this, and I look forward to talking again soon.
Hey, same to you. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Thanks for having me on anytime.
Joey Slattery, longtime basketball aficionado in the Winnipeg marketplace, both for the Sea Bears and for the university programs. So we're going to switch over to our good friend Doug McLean, who is going to talk with us about the Edmonton perspective on Xavier Moon's departure. So if we're able to bring Doug up on our YouTube connection, we'll be able to talk with Doug. And Doug, of course, he and I have had the privilege of working together for a long time on doing the Stinger broadcast. So from the court side, certainly not from the inside, we've been able to watch the Stinger team and program develop over the years. I think it's safe to say Doug, welcome back to the program, that the expectation was that we were going to see Xavier Moon in Stinger blue and gold this year. So the other day was quite a shock.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely shocking, Paul. Yeah, good to be back on the show. But yeah, absolutely a shock. And I know that there were plans that he was going to be a Stinger last year had he not dealt with some injuries. So very interesting to see that he ended up in Winnipeg, and a great chat you just had with Joey to walk through it a little bit. So, it's tough. I mean, I think considering everything, you'd love to have him back playing with the Stingers, but having him back in the league is a good thing. But yeah, it's definitely a surprise. There's no doubt about that.
Well, it seems to me, the first impulse, I think, was, well, how did we miss on this one? But it's much deeper than that. Basketball is a business, and the intel, if you want to call it that, without, I think, getting into any kind of sensationalism or rumor mongering or anything like that, the intel really is Xavier and his agent measured their options, and for what I'm only supposing are business reasons, he made a decision to land in Winnipeg. And I don't know what those decisions were based on. And that doesn't really matter. The young man has to manage his career.
Yeah.
And he's always been a great, appreciative, humble guy relating to his experience with the Stingers. But he's made a business decision, Doug.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, even to the point that you and Joy were talking about in terms of the growth of the league, I think the fact now is not that it wasn't a business 7 years ago, it was, but even more so now. And I think for someone like Xavier Moon, who has had a very unique and interesting career in a lot of ways, and he took what he did here in Edmonton and propelled him to the Clippers, and where he had a good run over a few seasons with the Clippers. I mean, more recently in Russia. But you're right. I mean, you and I chatted with him back sometime this summer or during one of our Stinger broadcasts, and he's been back to Edmonton many times to watch the Stingers, to be part of other things going on in the community. So I think he's been very effusive in his praise of his time with the Stingers and his time in Edmonton. And I know, as much as this might seem like a bit of a drawback for the Stingers, at the same time, because of how much he's talked fondly of his time here in Edmonton, I think that speaks to the culture that they've built up here with the Stingers. And so the fact that he's not coming back to Edmonton, I don't think is necessarily a knock on this franchise or what they're doing here. I think what you said is exactly right. It's a business decision. What went into that, you and I don't know. We're not in the room to make part of these negotiations, but it's not necessarily, oh, geez, Edmonton missed out and this is a mistake. It could actually be as simple as, maybe Sean East is coming back. That might be a thing too. And I'm not sure, as fun as it might be, I'm not sure having Xavier Moon and Sean East in your lineup at the same time is a good thing. There's only one basketball. I'm not sure that would have worked. Now, I'm completely projecting. I have not talked to Jordan Baker. I have no idea what the plans are in terms of their lineup or their roster. But this could be a signal, potentially, that East is coming back. An email just went out the other day from the Stingers on ticketing. Guess whose picture was in that email? Sean East. Again, who knows? He may not be back. But that dynamic, we don't know. It's a good thing Moon's back in the league. Too bad he's not here, but it could propel and could signal some other things going on behind the scenes with the Stingers as well.
You know what, Doug? I think what you just stated right there is a great way to end the conversation, to end the Requiem. We're coming to the end of the Requiem Mass. If I could, I'd play Mozart's Requiem right now, because I think we can celebrate the time we had Xavier Moon here, the impact that he had, not just on the franchise, but on the league itself. There's a new chapter being written, and also can get the competitive juices going, not just for Edmonton, but for other franchises in the CEBL as well, because Winnipeg just upped the ante. So this, I think, whips everybody into a sharp focus that they've got to be working harder than they ever have worked to put together the kind of talent and team to be able. Thank you. This is fantastic. We have Mozart's Requiem in the background. That's tremendous, Josh. So we're going to finalize our lamenting about Xavier Moon and his departure from Edmonton, landing in Winnipeg, with renewed hope and optimism in the organization with the Edmonton Stingers that we have a lot to look forward to in the 26th season in the CEBL. Doug, thanks so much for joining me this morning. We'll look forward to talking again real soon. And by the way, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you. I enjoy any opportunity I have, not just to get together with you for coffee, but when we ever have the chance to broadcast, it's truly one of the highlights for me. So appreciate what you do, who you are, Doug, and all the best to you, your family over the holiday season.
Well, thanks, Paul, and right back at you. Love our chats when we grab coffee, and calling games with you is a lot of fun. I learn a ton of stuff about the game from you all the time. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and to Josh as well. And thanks for all you guys do for the community and the sport as well.
Okay, Doug McLean here with us on Hoop City. We're going to take a break right now. Josh, that was so much fun. Thank you for doing that. And when we come back, Steve Sir is going to join me for the deep dive here on Hoop City on your sports leader, Sports 1440.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440. Powered by Subaru. Safety, reliability, and uncommon value. Visit Subaru.ca.
Hey, busy parents, want some spare time while your kids have a blast? Bowl Canada helps you split your time wisely. Sign up today for our Kids Bowling League. Visit bowlcanada.ca. They'll strike it big, and you'll have a ball.
This is a local backstory, a showcase of businesses we're proud to call our friends. Here's Anita from Coleman's Greenhouse.
Coleman's is open year-round. We're open 7 days a week. You know, we're not just a greenhouse. We're not just a market garden. We have a gift shop and we have a flower shop, and you can come and buy vegetables year-round. We always have houseplants and things available. So, you know, the main thing is that people know that we're there 7 days a week, year-round, and we offer lots for Edmontonians to come and shop for. The Anthony Hendy construction has really, I think, opened the city up to our greenhouses. People driving by can actually see the greenhouses, and they now, oh, that's where Coleman's is. And it's very easy access, you know, just taking a Henday out to 153rd Avenue. And I think we have noticed a lot of customers coming from other areas of the city, which is really great.
Google Coleman's today. That's Kuhlmanns.
Hard to believe it's already that time of year again. Time to get your festive aluminum pole at Metal Supermarkets, where the staff will be completing feats of strength to get your metal ready without any grievances. When your project needs a festive miracle, Metal Supermarkets offers in-house bending, often by the next day, plus metal cut to your exact specifications, fast. The convenience stores for Southside, West End, metalsupermarkets.com.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free radio player app and listen wherever you go.
"60 years ago, A Charlie Brown Christmas was released. 1965. And that song, I think, is something that has become a staple in so many young people's lives and so many families' lives. Welcome back to Hoop City with Paul Sir. Josh Fenwick here today. We're pleased to welcome into the studio. Oh, and before we welcome Steve into the studio, Josh, can we do a poll update?
Yeah, absolutely. The Hoop City poll. Currently, the leader is 76 wins, leading by a very, very wide margin. Everyone thinks the OKC Thunder will have at least 76 wins this season, or I would say more than 73.
You know what? It's interesting. It's interesting, Josh, because I think on one hand you can say we're drinking the Thunder Kool-Aid, but what reason have they given us not to buy into that concept when you have a someone of Steve Kerr's stature, along with all of the other clarion voices out there saying this is potentially one of the great all-time teams and has a real shot at it. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Steve Sir into the studio. Steve, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Let's ask you, Can the Thunder break the all-time record of 73 this year?
It seems to start that they have an awfully good shot. There was something in the media that the team, and Chase said it, but that it was important to them that they were going to try and pursue it. So it's always interesting for teams in the NBA of what's going to keep them interested during the lulls in the season, when it's the famed right after the All-Star break where it seems like everybody mails it in until the end. Can they stay motivated? The ultimate thing will always be, can they stay healthy? It's such a long season, the way that the season is structured of, road games, how many games they might have to put together when they're playing on a long stretch. Can everybody's bodies hold up? But if they do, it seems like on paper they'll have a great chance to get it done.
Very accurate. A couple of thoughts I had. I remember when the Lakers with Magic Johnson were going for the three-peat. Pat Riley rode the Lakers in year 3 at an unprecedented level to push them through the season. And the pressure that they felt, they just hated Riley for it. That's very different from the Thunder. They're young, they're exuberant. This is all new. It's on the heels of their championship. I mean, Gilgeous-Alexander at 26 is one of the vets. Of course, there's Caruso. But that youthful exuberance, along with their skill sets, it does give them a motivation. And plus, if the trend continues, they're not playing Gilgeous-Alexander 42 minutes a game to reach this. Like Golden State had to play their big three a ton to break the 73. So far, that hasn't been the case for the Thunder. They could do this if this all continues without the kind of wear and tear over a whole regular season like other teams might have to do to try to reach this goal.
It'll make the season interesting. For a team that seems to be far out ahead of everybody else, it'll also be interesting to see how it affects the approaches of the other teams. Are they going to really try and chase the Thunder? Are they going to just play to what they need to play to, or are some teams going to mail it in with resting players, trading guys, or just getting ready for the draft? All the word is that this draft is going to be one of the best ones that they've had in a while. It'll be interesting to see how that trickles down through the rest of the league on what teams decide to do and what approach they choose to take.
Absolutely. We'll talk a little bit more in our second part of the deep dive today, but let's talk about 3x3. Steve, you made the transition in 2016 from 5-on-5 to 3x3 and have been Canada's top-ranked player for a good part of your career in 3x3. You've transitioned from playing to playing and coaching. Now I would say reversing that into coaching and playing in 3x3. You have a very unique set of circumstances in that you're the national team coach for the country of Mongolia. And of course, Mongolia is never affiliated with the basketball world, but certainly is on the 3x3 basketball world's map. Talk about the year in Mongolia and the marvelous accomplishment of your women this past season.
It's been 4 years of great relationships and trying to build and push towards maybe not a clearly defined outcome, but an outcome of growth and improvement and driving basketball forward. Because you're right, Mongolia hasn't been a country that has been associated with any basketball powerhouses or longstanding basketball traditions. But they've taken the approach of there's no better time to start than now, of really trying to make an effort to bring 3x3 events to the country, bring 5-on-5 events to the country, bring foreign coaches, bring foreign players. After COVID, I was one of 2 foreigners that were in the country for basketball. The 5-on-5 national coach is from Greece, and he was coaching a 5-on-5 club in Mongolia before he became the 5-on-5 men's national team coach. And I wouldn't say it was because of us, but it did start to open doors of voices and personalities and know-how coming from other areas of the world into Mongolia, and how once you start that process, you can't undo it. It starts to change things. It's been really exciting to be a part of that change of bringing ideas and lessons that you've learned from your upbringing as a basketball player, the coaches that I've learned from and been fortunate enough to take a lot away from, and put that into practice in a country like Mongolia, where there's an eagerness and there's an anxious feeling of we want to get better, but we need to be pointed in a direction, and then we'll chase that together. This past season was a culmination of a lot of hard work, in particular on the women's side. Our girls have grown by leaps and bounds over the last 2 years. When I first got there, if you would have called us bad, I would have been happy. We were really bad, and it was we just couldn't win a game, and that started to shift a little bit. Part of that was us redefining what we wanted the program to look like, and breaking it down to the most basic levels of how do we want to close out on the perimeter when the ball gets passed. How do we want to come to a jump stop and make a pass? It was that kind of stuff where we had to whittle it down and really get back to the basics. Where we were fortunate is we had two personalities on our team that were completely invested in believing in that, and that's Ariane Senseg, Aruka, and she's been probably the player that I think has improved the most in our country, in Mongolia. And then Hulan Anobatar, who's been the face of the women's team. And she was part of the all-tournament team at the World Cup that we hosted this past year in Mongolia. It goes to show when you have two players that are competitive and love the game and want to do these things, how it sets the tone for the other players to follow. So I've been fortunate as a coach on that side to have the good fortune of working with women like that will run through the wall if you tell them to run through the wall. That came out this year in our result in World Cup, where we entered the tournament. We were hosting in Mongolia. It was a big deal. There was obviously a lot of pressure on the players that this was playing at home. This is playing in front of our friends and family and the people we love, and a chance to showcase our hard work. That can be good. That can be bad, because it definitely weighted on their minds. But one of the messages that we wanted to keep consistent for them was we're not just hosting, we're competing. And we're going to show these countries the hard work that we've been putting in the gym, away from cameras, away from pats on the back, away from all the stuff that is done in certain circles of basketball where you're feeling that feedback immediately of we're getting better. We didn't know how much better we were getting. We were just in the gym working. And once the World Cup started, you could see the girls go, okay, we are ready for this. We are ready to compete, and we're ready to throw punches with the best countries in the world. We beat Brazil, who was recently a bronze medalist at the America Cup. We beat Germany, who was the gold medalist at the Paris Olympics. We beat Ukraine, who was much bigger and stronger than we were. We gave a good game to Spain, who was the silver medalist at the Olympics in Paris. And then we moved on to our knockout rounds, where we beat China, which was a big deal in Mongolia, obviously, given the relationship. We beat the United States, which doesn't really need to be expanded on any further, given what a heavyweight they are. And then we beat Poland in the semifinal in an extremely dramatic game. And
one of the great games that you'll ever see.
Yeah. To go to overtime, to have all these close finishes, near finishes, and then Aruka, who's worked endlessly on the shot that she hit of just getting to the screen, pushing away, getting your feet, knocking it down. And for her to have that moment in front of her fans, like, it still gives me goosebumps. And then we got to the final and we played a terrific Netherlands team and they beat us. Not much you could say about that, because the Netherlands, for my money, were the best women's team pound for pound this season in 3x3. But for us to go from 2 years ago winning one game on the women's series, and it was not a pretty game, to 2 years later being a silver medalist at the World Cup and to be taken seriously by every women's team on the tour is a testament to the women we have on the team, to their commitment to improvement and growth and their fire to pursue something. And then also to the leadership, I think, on the Mongolian side, with the people that I answer to and some of and we answer to, that have kept pushing and believing even when things were tough. So it's hard not to think about it and get fired up of what they accomplished. It's also hard not to look at it and think, like, did we actually do this? But being in the gym with them and seeing the stuff that was done from day to day and how the women believed in it, there was no greater feeling as someone who's been with them on the sideline, seeing this actually play out in real time.
It is one of those feel good stories that just happens occasionally in sport, that you were instrumental in putting the ingredients together for the players to be able to accomplish what they accomplished. So yeah, what a great step forward for that program, and kudos to you.
Thanks.
You recently played for Canada in the America down in León, Mexico. Fourth place finish for the men. Big disappointment. I realize you were bronze medalist last year. Second place, silver medal for the women. Overall, how was Canada's performance in the America?
I thought the women did very well. They were integrating 2 new players. They had Catherine Plouffe and Paige Crozon as the veterans. 2 perfect personalities and players to be in a position to help integrate 2 new young players into 3x3. You can play 3-on-3, you can watch 3-on-3, but then you get in a real game and it's completely different. You're outside, you're on a different surface. It might be windy for those 20 minutes that you play. There's all these curveballs that get thrown at you. So to have Catherine and Paige be the steady hands for the program, playing in a tournament where half your team is new, was the right idea. They bumped up against a really strong American team. They gave them a good fight. There was a really questionable call at the end on Paige that played a role in the outcome. But I thought they put a great foot forward. It showed that there's good things in the works for the continued development of the women's program and integrating new skill sets and new personalities into the team. So obviously for them, now that the Olympic point gathering is starting,
it's a complete start over, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like as in other sports, whether it's soccer, whatever, you've got rankings and points and results, all of those things. But FIBA 3x3 for years and years, it's an accumulation and a carryover and all of the regulations. But this is like a fresh start for the 2028 LA Olympics, correct?
Correct. So what FIBA, and this was just announced 2 days ago officially, what FIBA has determined is it's going to be a 2-year window of point collection to determine rankings and possible automatic qualifications to Los Angeles Olympics in 2028. So that begins now. There's no tournaments now, but once the AmeriCup and the Africa Cup had ended, the official point gathering for LA starts. So it seems like LA is a long ways off. It's going to get here in a blink. These next 2 years are going to be extremely important for anyone that has ambition to be competing in LA. And it forces the hand of countries and players to be invested over these next 2 years. You're not going to be able to just show up the year before and play a ton, and you're going to have to give a year and a year. And then you have the Olympic year. So on paper, I like it. It's going to be good for the sport. It's going to make it competitive in the lead up to LA in a way that the sport hasn't seen that level of competition up to this point. I think when you look at it from the Canadian women's perspective, they're positioned extremely well. The Americans are already qualified to LA, men and women. So there's going to be one automatic slot for the Americas that goes directly to LA. And for my money, I don't know at this point who can challenge the Canadian women in the Americas. And that's great because it sets the pace of they're going to be the ones playing over the next 2 years to decide their fate. And if you're smart, they're the ones to bet on. On the men's side for AmeriCup, to circle back to what we were talking about, we showed a lot of good things. We had good training in the lead up to the tournament. Had a wild game with Trinidad and Tobago. Those are always some of the hardest games to prepare for in 3x3, where you're playing against players that don't have a lot of experience in the sport. That can be good, that can be bad, because they're coming in and they're just playing and they're just, kind of nothing to lose, just having fun. And that was a little bit of a game that you couldn't quite get a pulse on. Then we moved into playing Argentina. Easier because it's more physical. They have some experience. They're younger. They're hungry. And luckily we gave them a good whooping and sent them out and moved into the quarterfinals, played Mexico. almost a mirror situation from the year before. We played Mexico in the quarterfinals in Puerto Rico. This being different, playing in Mexico. It was a really hard-fought game. Referees seemed to nudge it a little bit towards the home team, if we're being
A little bit
honest.
of home cooking.
Yeah, a little bit. So that added to the intrigue a little bit, but luckily we were able to pull it out. We got to the Puerto Rico game, very similar to as it was the year before, neck and neck the whole game. We have a great look at the end. Jerome Derossier, one of our guys, had a good look at it too. It was in the bucket. And you live with that because he had a fantastic tournament. And you in 3x3, you always live with, you got a wide open shot, a good shooter shooting it. Sometimes it's going to go in, sometimes it's not. So I had no qualms with how that game ended. We were in a position where we were an inch from going to overtime. The Brazil bronze medal game was a tough one. To lose a medal game for when it's for your country it hurts in a different way. I felt like we just kind of ran out of gas. We needed to keep the pace of the game high because a slower pace favored Brazil and their type of player. So that was tough. But I think, when you've had a chance to reflect and evaluate what was happening, you have to try and frame it as, losses hurt. I've never subscribed to the idea of like, well, there aren't losses, there's just learning. And it's like, no, there are losses. And it really hurts when there's losses. So that's usually coming from people who haven't lost meaningful games. It really stung everybody, but you do have to frame it as it's adversity. And if you're going to cry about it, cool. No one's going to care. You're going to have to get back in the gym. You're going to have to get on with it. And you're going to have to keep believing that the next time you're in that game, you can get it done. And I think the debrief we had as a group, everybody believed that as ticked off as they were. And I'm hopeful that soon we'll get a chance to get back out there and have a chance to play a game like that or that exact game again, because I'd like to believe the outcome will be different. But to play with Canada on your chest is the highest privilege and the most meaningful thing you can do. Your country on your chest and your name on your back is as good as it gets. I've said it a lot of times, it's the mountaintop. So to be able to do that, I remember being 15 and dreaming of that. And I still remember that. I'm 43 now, and it never stops being meaningful. So even though it hurts when you lose, you still have to walk away from it and think like, I dreamed of being in games like this. And the next time we play one, I'm going to remember how much it hurts and do better.
It was while it was a stinging end to the season, it was still a great effort on the part and a step forward for Canada on the men's side as well. We're going to take a break right now. And when we come back, we're going to continue with the deep dive here on Hoop City with Paul Sir on your sports leader, Sports 1440.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440. Powered by Subaru. The perfect choice for Alberta's challenging weather and road conditions. Visit Subaru.ca.
Hard to believe it's already that time of year again. Time to get your festive aluminum pole at Metal Supermarkets, where the staff will be completing feats of strength to get your metal ready without any grievances. When your project needs a festive miracle, Metal Supermarkets offers in-house bending, often by the next day, plus metal cut to your exact specifications, fast. The convenience stores for Southside, West End, metalsupermarkets.com.
The wrapping paper is coming off, the gift box is opening, and the crowd goes wild.
When they want sports in their stocking, you'll find gifts that score big at St. Albert's Source for Sports. Jerseys and accessories, baseball, bikes, all kinds of skates, and everything on. It's all here, alongside expert advice from pros who know sports. Put the best sports brands under the tree for less with St. Albert's Source for Sports, your source for hockey and the best sports gifts for over 35 years.
What keeps Alberta business moving? It's pallets. Whether you're shipping, manufacturing, or looking for in-house storage solutions. Hi, it's Andrew with the Pallet Recycler here in Edmonton, and we've been providing reliable, affordable, recycled, and custom pallets for local businesses for the past 30 years. Contact the Pallet Recycler at 825-474-1981 to find out why recycled pallets are the most cost-effective way to move and store your product. Learn about our recycling program as well at thepalletrecycler.ca.
Mental health affects us all. CMHA is working hard to erase the prejudice and empower those affected. Help us in our quest for a healthier Canada. Visit cmha.ca today and choose to donate, volunteer, or both. Every action counts.
Oh, you cannot beat that last Elvis Elvis Christmas song. Blue Christmas is great. That's the one that Elvis is mostly known for, but Santa Bring My Baby Back to Me is the best. Welcome back. Hoop City, Paul Sir, Josh Fenwick, joined by Steve Sir for the deep dive. We're going to change directions right now. Steve, last week I thought, I really haven't checked for quite some time on how many Albertans are playing south of the border, because I was recalling back when you were in high school what we had to try to do to get Albertan players noticed down in the U.S. to even get consideration, because at that time there were very few Canadians south of the border. Of course, there were still a few from the Toronto area, but not the hundreds that we have from across the country that are playing right now. But there were so many efforts that you had to go through. But now with the addition of prep schools, all the opportunities kids have to play, kids have the opportunity to get noticed more. Canadians are more in demand down in the States, obviously with the success of players like SGA, et cetera, at the Division I level and certainly at the NBA level. But I was surprised, and this information comes from our friend Brian Swain, one of the great basketball minds who sees the details pretty much unlike anybody else in the province. And Brian, on the Alberta basketball website, and go to abbasketball.ca if you want to see Brian's statistics on players playing Division I right now. To my surprise, 17 boys, 13 girls from Alberta playing Division I right now. And, all have their own story, all have their own journey. Some are making major impacts. Some are just in that growth phase, certainly. But when you played on the great high school team at Ross Shep with Jermaine Buckner. You and Jermaine both played Division I basketball, but there were very few Albertans at that time. Colleen Ukes from McNally was going. I forget the young lady's name that also was on the gold medal winning team at Nationals who went to Cal Poly, I think.
Katie Patterson.
Katie Patterson goes to Cal Poly. I think that was it at the time, playing down in Division I. Now you've got much bigger numbers. And this has accelerated really over the last 3 or 4 years. What's your impression of this? What's happening that has made this change possible for so many Albertans to be competing in Division I programs?
It's a completely different landscape now with how recruiting is handled, the ability to get information out to coaches at the snap of a finger. Back then you had to you had to be the one that was driving it forward if they weren't figuring out a way to come to your doorstep.
I was putting in padded envelopes VHS tapes and mailing them out to coaches and then following up with their athletic departments on your behalf.
And waiting weeks to possibly get a response.
Absolutely. If you ever did.
Yep. And that was, I mean, it makes it sound like the Stone Ages from 20, 25 years ago.
It was the Flintstones.
But when you compare it to now, it was, because you're sending out VHS cassettes, like you said, in bubble wrapped envelopes, and then, sending a follow-up email. And most of those coaches, I think at that point, didn't really know what email was. It wasn't really a thing. Everything was still handled either visually, you're going to games and you're talking to recruits, or you're doing handwritten letters. And there was a changing that was happening, but it was a slow changing because there was still the belief that Canadians were not cut out to play in the States, outside of some guys that were out in Toronto that I think were easier for United States coaches to look at and say, like, well, yeah, those guys playing, the Raptors are there and there's more of a culture. But when you started to branch out and go across Canada, there weren't the things that coaches often in the States look at of, what do I know about this guy or this area that I've already experienced down here? Steve Nash had played Division I. That changed everything, but it didn't result in it changing the amount of schools in the States that were recruiting Canadians. They knew that smaller point guard, 6'1" point guard would be a guy they'd be interested in. And there were guys that benefited from that. Jordy McTavish, Kyle Wilson, they went down to the States because they were guys from BC that resembled Nash. But other things had to change in order for other positions and guys who played other spots in order to be recruited. So to circle it back to now, I think if you had gone back then, myself and Jermaine Buckner went to the States, I think there probably would have been more people during that era that would have at least got a lot more looks.
Absolutely.
And I think now you can see how it's changed, because most of these kids that maybe 20 years ago would have had to really push to get college programs interested are now the ones that are getting seen. There's more tournaments that are available to coaches. International recruiting could be something that really helps a program get over the hump of stealing a kid from a European country, stealing a kid from up north in Canada that coaches have been slow to identify. I think it's a sign of the times that basketball is more than it was even 20 years ago, a very global game. And there's not as much stigma surrounding players of, well, if they play there, then it means that they're this or that. If they play there, it's because they live there. And now if you're going to these programs in these other countries, you can show your stuff. And if it doesn't work, we've seen it a million times, they'll let you go. You'll move on. Transferring is a extremely common thing at this point in college sports. Back then it wasn't. If you were transferring, it was because you were either seen as someone that couldn't cut it or you were a problem child. And now if you're transferring, it's a business transaction. It's a better opportunity for me and my family. So I think because of that, coaches can possibly swing at the fences a little bit more of, can we get this kid from Canada who's maybe a little bit of an unknown, but could have a big upside, and let's get him in here and let's see if he can play.
And in the case of players in programs down in the States, a couple really jump out at me. On the guy's side, Elias Ralph from Okotoks at Pacific, he's having a heck of a year.
Mm-hmm.
And Delaney Gibb, who's very, very familiar to all Albertans, she continues to have great success at BYU. But when you go down through the list of players, you can see there's an adaptation. And we were talking off air about the importance for players to understand when they get into the Division I world, even though the world has changed, the basketball realities are still the same. And that is, you're going to have to show up, you're going to have to work hard, and you're going to have to earn your place in the lineup. And sometimes that does not happen overnight. And so what would your observation be about an advice? Let's put it that way. Your advice to the young Albertans who are aspiring certainly to go Division I, but those that are playing Division I, if right now they're not getting the results that they think they were going to get when they went south.
The number one thing would be, what I would tell anybody is the most important quality in order to stick in the game is persist. You have to persist through difficult times. You're going to have to persist through, I'm not getting minutes, I'm not getting touches. There's these things that are happening that is not allowing me to do these things. That's fine. You're in the category that almost every player except the very select 1 or 2% have to go through when they go to college basketball, is you're going to have to persist and you're going to have to earn it in a way that you probably didn't imagine it was going to have to be. I ended up being, an all-conference player at NAU. I averaged double figures. I scored 1,000 points in my career, and multiple times I wanted to quit because it was really frustrating, where you have a couple weeks where you are just playing great. All of a sudden you play 6 minutes and you don't touch the ball once, and someone's screaming at you for a closeout that you thought you did right, and you're sitting on the bench and you're like, man, I don't get it. Why am I not getting consistency? And this is what you realize when you get to that level, is everyone is coming from their worlds and they were the best player. They had the ball the most. They were being told they were this, that, and the other thing. And it's just a matter of time when they get to college that they're going to be exactly what they were in high school. That takes an adjustment physically and mentally of, I'm not touching the ball as much. Well, how do I assert myself, or how do I become that personality and player in this much, much more competitive environment? What happens if they recruit over me? Because there's this great player that's all of a sudden available, or there's, given the current landscape now, there's this transfer that just wants to come here. How does that affect me? What do I do if there's some guy that shows up from Arkansas who was averaging 13 points a game and just wants to play at my school? Are my minutes going to get cut in half? But that's not a new thing. When I was playing at San Diego State, I was a 2-guard. We were recruiting LA all the time. And a kid named Brandon Heath was signed, and he was coming from Westchester, and he was LA Player of the Year, and he was going to be in my spot. It's pretty cutthroat. So I would say, for anybody that wants to know what's this going to be like, it's going to be really tough. And whatever you get, you're going to have to earn and then some. So I would always tell any young player that's going to go, swim in the ocean. Like this goes from the fishbowl from the pond. Like this is the ocean, and the sharks and the whales are huge. So you got to get out there, and if you don't persist, they're just going to run you over, and you're going to have to really push yourself physically and mentally to endure and to commit to the idea that, like, if I want to do this, I got to be in the gym, I got to be in the weight room, and then you got to do the stuff that anybody will tell you once you're persisting through it, of what you need to do in order to succeed. If you're not willing to do the things that other people can or won't, then you're just going to probably fall into the pack. You have to figure out ways to separate yourselves, even from your teammates. And once you do that, coaches take notice. The consistency of it, of putting days, weeks, months together, of like, man, they're in here no matter what. They're asking a coach to get in the gym and work out with me no matter what. That will act as a separator. I think if you're committed to doing that and willing to give things up in order to do it, you have a chance to be successful. And it's been proven. Like, I did it. Jermaine Buckner did it. Kyle Landry did it. Ben Krikke did it. Ahir Uguak did it. The Plouffe sisters did it. People have done it. It's just going to be really tough. But that's part of the fun too, is can you push yourself into that area where it's so difficult that you almost feel off kilter all the time? And then once you get it done, of like, man, there's no more rewarding feeling at that level of I persisted and I did it.
Persisted and did it under the real world circumstances, not the fantasy circumstances I think that people have when they're doing this. But to see this many young Albertans have the opportunity to do it is really exciting. So great analysis. And you're listening to the deep dive here on Hoop City on your sports leader, Sports 1440 with Paul Sir. Steve Sir is my guest. Okay, let's take a little bit of a jump here. And Josh, would you start with our Gimme Five? Because we're going to have some questions from Josh, Steve, and we're going to give our answers.
Okay. All right. First question. The MVP race in the NBA. How can a player in SGA be so dominant, having his best season as the reigning MVP, yet he is still the runner-up in the MVP race? Is Jokic or SGA the MVP?
You go first, Steve.
Oh, thanks. I think it's an interesting reflection of where the NBA is at right now, where it just has to be debated no matter what.
Early in the season.
This early in the season, when they've lost once. Then it gets into the definition of what an MVP is. Is it the guy that if you took off the team, they would just fall off a cliff? Or is it the best team in the league like Oklahoma City, and it's the best player on the best team?
And I would just interject right here.
Sure.
If it were scenario one, fall off a cliff, it's clearly Jokic. Because if SGA is out, Oklahoma City's still really good.
Yeah, they'll be competitive. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they would be in the thick of it, top 2 or 3 in the West without SGA. Oh, yeah. I'm getting some pushback on this one. SGA is fantastic, but they are deep and they are good. So I'll stand by mine. But the other litmus test is it would have to be SGA, because best player on the best team with the numbers that he's putting up. It really is hair splitting.
Here's where it gets complicated, is anytime a player wins multiple MVPs, there's this strange tidal wave that comes from the other direction of, well, you can't give him any more. Like this happened in the 80s with Larry Bird, where he won 3 in a row, and there was the Lakers, and then there were the Pistons were coming, and then all of a sudden there was, it's very similar with Jokic, where he's had these.
Michael Jordan. I mean, most people feel Jordan should have had 8 MVPs.
Yeah, and they're probably right. But, like you have the Charles Barkley season and the Michael Jordan season, and who wins in the finals. You have the Karl Malone season, and Michael Jordan beats him in the finals. It's like, who are we kidding who the best player in the league is? The best player. Like Karl Malone had a great season. That's awesome. What a good story. Who are you picking if the world comes to an end if you don't win this game? You're picking Michael Jordan. I don't think it's as clear now as it was then. SGA is amazing. So is Jokic. That's where it gets interesting to actually follow this season and not overreact to a week or 2 weeks of seeing what kind of body of work they put together. Their stats are going to be incredible because they're both incredible players. I'd love to see the best player on the best team get MVP because he's also Canadian. So I'm a little bit biased there. And I'd also love to see them play in the playoffs because someone will be awarded it and then they'll play. and you'll have some kind of
That'll be great
logical
discussion.
resolution. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that would be fun.
Absolutely. So you want SGA? I'd go with Jokic. So that's a good starting point. Let's go to
I like
number
it.
2.
I like it.
Number 2, Final Four in Las Vegas for the NBA Cup is set. We have the OKC and the Spurs on one side. We have the Knicks and the Magic on the eastern side. Players and coaches.
Who do you think's favored, Josh?
Oh, man, that's a good
That's a tough
question.
one, huh?
That is a good question.
Yeah, I thought so.
OKC by 18.5 probably is the line. Players and coaches, well, mixed in their degree of acceptance, like it for a variety of reasons, the NBA Cup. Prize money being the biggest for the players. Do you like it? And do you think it should continue to be a part of the season?
You want to go first?
I'll go first on that one. I'm not a huge fan, but number one, I found the players' reaction to the courts to be one of the most interesting aspects of it, because the NBA, who never misses a trick and finds new ways to try to make the game fascinating by being somewhat outrageous, certainly have done so with the court designs that they've come up with. A lot of players have been complaining about that because the courts are very distracted because of the colors. It's an interesting experiment. Whether or not it should be a permanent part of it, I think it will be. And I think it's already taking root. And one of the responses from the players that I took the most from and doing a little bit of prep on it is players like the prize money. So they want to fight for it. So if it makes the season a little more interesting, I don't see any harm. I don't think it has the emotional impact that the series that the NHL had last year, for instance, where it just drained the pros. This doesn't have that kind of impact. It's a couple more games through the course of the season. So I think overall it's fine. I don't think one way or the other it's a big deal. I don't think the winner has anything to get overly excited about, except to see the checks put into their bank account. But yeah, it makes it a little more interesting, and it certainly gives us some talking points.
I'm not all that interested in it.
Mhm.
Just like to zag a little bit on what you said, kind of feel like you're forced to be interested in it. It's on.
Yeah.
I think most of the courts are hideous.
They
like
are.
the red is crazy, but I don't know if anyone's ever going to look at a resume, like when something flashes up and be like, oh man, he won the 2023 NBA Cup. Like no one's going to care. I just don't think that that's going to be a thing. Like I think it was the Lakers that won the cup 2 years ago. Does anybody care?
Not a bit.
No. So
Not a bit.
and I don't know. I mean, like this year it'd be fun, like if Wemby plays, like to have, OKC, the Spurs. Okay, there's some kind of thing there. You can see they're committed to the cup idea, which I think is right, because if you go to any other country, and they have their cups in their countries,
That's a great
that's
reference
separate
point.
separate of your league, and it does matter. Like even though you are playing the same teams, like when I played 5-on-5 in Europe, you'd have your league games, and then you'd have breaks during parts of your league games to play cup games, and it would be at odd times, and it would be against teams that are not set on your schedule, and maybe a team upset somebody in the cup. The NBA is so exposed to us that the Spurs are playing the Thunder again. Okay, cool, but there was something fun about playing in cup games, so you can tell they're committed to it. I think it's the right idea. Who doesn't want more money in their bank account? Like, I mean, that's pretty clear for NBA guys. Like, well, rich guys want more money, so it's going to be something that I think they're going to stick with. But I think it'll always come down to like, are the matchups interesting? Is it going to be fun to watch the Spurs play the Thunder in a cup style game? And I think there's the potential for that, but it'll always be, can they latch on to you of like, do you care?
Well, for me, I'm interested in that game because I like the Spurs
Sure,
a lot.
yeah,
And if
they're
Wemby
good.
plays, that's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, we're going to go to point number 3. I'm going to take this question, though, and I'm going to present it to you guys. 10 most hated players in the NBA. There was a recent poll. So I'm going to give you the 10 and then ask you, as we go along, agree or disagree with each one. And I want you to agree on 2 levels. Do they deserve to be in it? And if so, are they positioned properly in the scale here? Number 10, Dylan Brooks. Hateable or not? Does he deserve this?
Hateable. He could be higher up even.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's only 10. Caveat to though, winner. Like, everywhere he's been at, they win. So
Look what he's done in Phoenix.
That's what I'm saying. Phoenix was a graveyard last year. Now all of a sudden they're good.
And Dylan's the reason.
Yeah, totally.
Dylan is the reason. Okay. Number 9. For me, I agree he's hateable, but hateable in a lovable way. Like he's hateable, lovable for me. That's how I'm kind of measuring these guys. So Russell Westbrook.
I don't think there's anything to hate about. I think it's gotten too cool to dislike Russell Westbrook. Like why do people bag on him the way that they do? I know he takes shots at some bad times and that becomes just what everybody latches onto. He won an MVP. He plays really hard. He's got great stats. He'll be a Hall of Famer. It's become too acceptable to dislike the guy.
He doesn't belong in the top 10 to me, but
Not
Josh,
even close.
what do you think?
I agree with you, Steve. Absolutely. I think it's become the norm to hate on Russell Westbrook, and then you watch him play and you're like, come on, guys, like he's doing his best out
He'll
there.
leave the league and people will love him again. People hated Carmelo Anthony by the time he was done. They were bagging on him all the time when he was with the Rockets. Or no, was he with the Thunder?
He was with the Thunder.
With the Thunder.
Yep.
And everyone was making fun of him. It was really like got to absurd levels. And then he retired and all anybody wants to do is like, oh man, remember Melo's mid-range? It was so stupid how that swung.
Oh yeah.
And I think it'll be the same with Westbrook. He'll leave and then everyone will be like, man, he was different in all these bad Instagram posts.
Yep.
And then remember everybody didn't like him?
Yep.
But I don't know. I think it's really unfair.
Okay, so because of time, we're going to go through there with yes or no for the rest of the way. I like Russell Westbrook.
Mhm.
Joel Embiid.
Yes, crybaby.
Yes.
Absolutely. Dwight Howard.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kobe.
Difficult to have that be yes and no. That's like almost like probably like a full 20-minute discussion.
Yeah, it really would be. But if you got to go yes or no.
Ball hog. But no. Hot take.
Not my I think
Yes or no. Time.
No, I don't think it's fair. No.
Okay. All right. Dennis Rodman.
Yes. Should be
Yes,
number
but in the
one.
most fun way possible.
Lovable, hateable, lovable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, but in the most fun way.
Now, here's just pure hateable. Bill Laimbeer. He should be number one for me.
Yeah,
in the
Bill
least fun way.
Surprised that he's not. You can't tell the best Bill Laimbeer stories on air because it all has like the worst language. But there's a great Larry Bird story about Bill Laimbeer, about him playing at the All-Star game and him realizing that he'll play because Laimbeer didn't get nominated. There's a great story. People who are listening should Google that.
Absolutely. Here's one I'm really curious about. Kevin Durant at number 3.
Manib's out. I'm in.
I don't think that's fair. I think people don't like it because he's bounced around so much.
And the Golden State move. That's why people
Yeah,
hate Kevin Durant.
he did the, if you can't beat him, join him thing.
Yep.
Nobody likes that, but I think that's unfair. No.
Draymond Green, number 2.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In a non-fun way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same
not
vein as
lovable,
Laimbeer.
no hateable, lovable there.
It's gotten up to the absurd.
Number 1, LeBron James.
No.
No, that's not fair.
I agree.
Not with it.
Now, here's my missing list. Chris Paul definitely deserves to be top 10 for me.
But I do think what happened recently definitely shows some shades of gray of that, of him being cut so unceremoniously from the Clippers in what's supposed to be his last season. So I think that swings a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
James Harden.
I don't know how he's not on the list already.
Absolutely.
I don't know how
Top
he's not on the
5.
list. I think he's on the list.
Top 5. Grayson Allen.
The Duke bully.
Dude, Grayson Allen and Christian Leitner.
I was going to say.
There should be
And
like this
JJ
Duke,
Redick.
Pat, and
Those are the three.
JJ Redick.
Yeah.
You got their threesome.
How a white guy from Duke didn't make this list is crazy.
Unbelievable. That's
It's
unbelievable.
crazy.
You got to see the analytics on this one.
People are forgetting. Yeah.
Here's one that should be on the list just because of the guy was. There are all kinds of dirty players in the league, but this guy was just absolutely filthy. Bruce Bowen from the Spurs.
Yeah.
Filthy.
Yeah.
Filthy.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's probably. I mean, he's an honorable mention guy.
Honorable. Well, yeah, honorable mention just because his role wasn't that big. Here's a guy. I mean, you need 20 people in the top 10. Ben Simmons, just because he's Ben Simmons and the nonsense the guy has been in the league. There's just
A lot of nonsense. More of a crybaby or anything than
Oh.
actually hateable, or like it's more upsetting Just take a three-pointer.
No one's been more active in their petition to be on this list than Ben Simmons himself.
He's been lobbying.
he's been actively pursuing being
Absolutely.
nominated. Yeah.
John Morant, I think he makes a strong case to be in here.
He's done the same. It's like, let me see how I can.
Let's go to a nightclub and I'll bring a
torpedo
guy.
my career
Let's
right now.
And then let's complain.
We haven't caused problems lately, guys.
Yeah.
Let's cause one.
Last one, mailman.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I can totally see that.
Yeah, just a little bit. So
There's only one other honorable mention I have for you. Matt Barnes. I don't think anyone ever liked Matt Barnes.
yeah, Matt Barnes was it. Yeah,
He's a piece of work.
He was something.
he's a great podcaster.
Great podcaster.
Super good podcaster.
Yeah.
I'm
enjoy the
surprised.
listen.
I would throw out there, not because I don't like him as a player at all, but like because of what happened when he kind of made it more mainstream in the NBA is Ginobili with flopping.
Yeah.
Like how that was kind of really the first foray for the NBA of like a guy who was like.
But that's like hating Beaver Cleaver. Like the guy had that innocent face, and that look about him, and and he really started the dramatic thing that has resulted. I think he gave acting lessons to LeBron in terms of how to flop. LeBron's taken it to a new level. I often question whether there's some AI editing in some of the flops that they show of LeBron, because if that was real, it's absurd what LeBron has done to try to get a call and to plead his case to the officials with the misses on the swings and flying out of bounds. The guy's 6'7" or 6'8", 260 pounds, and you'd swear to God he just got hit by a Mack truck.
I'd say I'm shocked that even though he's not a player, what he did last year, I think crosses all like that. Nico Harrison as the GM of the Mavs is the most disliked basketball.
Oh yeah. That's a whole league. That's like the Academy Award.
Yeah.
This is minor league stuff compared to Nico.
Yeah, this is a lifetime achievement of like that kind.
At
Lifetime
the Academy,
achievement
I'd
award.
like to thank the Academy
Yeah.
for my lifetime achievement award.
Yeah, we're bringing Kirk Douglas up to accept the award.
Charlton Heston and Kirk Douglas are up there giving the award out.
Totally.
Say, Josh, can we run this through to the end and run some extra spots when we're done, or do we need to do a break right now?
We could go to break right now. We could just rifle through these last two really quick. I mean, like number 4, Steve, we gave our Paul and I gave our opinions already. Thunder are 24-1. Steve Kerr gave his comments earlier in the week. Do you think the Thunder could be the best team of all time?
I'm like rooted and stuck in the 90s. The Bulls are always going to be the greatest team for me. I think the Thunder could go undefeated the rest of the season, and I'm still arguing that the Bulls are the best team. But I think they have a great shot to break the wins record. Definitely.
All right. Number 5, the NCAA draft class is touted as one of the strongest ever. Cameron Boozer at Duke is the number 1 projected pick, with BYU's AJ DeBansa at his heels. Who are some other highly touted prospects?
Peterson from Kansas. People talk about a lot. Ament from Tennessee. Wilson, North Carolina. You know what? After it's really interesting because you had mentioned about this being a good draft class, Steve. But it's like you took Cooper Flagg and you planted him, and he took root, and all of these really good high impact players are going to be available this year in this really good draft class. I mean, Cameron Boozer could go into the league and just be outstanding right out of the gate, I believe, because his game is really, really versatile. And DeBansa is also DeBansa's really, really good. I wish we had more time, but we don't. But why do you think there's so many? Do you think we're just seeing another step in terms of the evolution of players becoming more versatile and more developed because of the training techniques and the hard work that they're putting in?
Possibly. It's interesting to see how these draft classes get hyped in the years leading up to their classes, because the class that was just drafted this year is actually very good.
They're fantastic.
Like there's 5 or 6 guys that are really, really good. And this is going to be followed by another draft that's supposed to be, again, projected really, really good. I don't know. It's interesting to follow, but it definitely adds intrigue to the league of good guys come in that could be all-stars quickly.
Absolutely. That music from Steve's brother, Ben, my son, Ben, it means we're coming to an end. Steve, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Every show at this time, we remember our son and Steve's brother Ben, who passed away far too soon, and that tragedy in our lives helps. The way we help to honor Ben is to remind everybody that, especially at the holiday season, be kind to others, think the best of others. Make sure you tell those who are important in your life that you love them, and value the time that you have with those special people in your lives. Want to thank everybody today. We have a guest in the studio who has a show coming up, and we're going to tell you more about that in one of our future shows. In fact, next week, I want you on the show with me, and we'll talk about the show. In the meanwhile, everybody, happy holidays as you get ready for this very, very special time of year. Glad to hear that the weatherman is being kind to us after a real cruel blast right now. And speaking of a blast, this was a blast today, being able to talk hoops in this way. Really proud to be here on behalf of Hoop City. Josh Fenwick, thank you so much for this week. You're listening to the Sports Leader, Sports 1440. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440. Powered by Subaru. Confidence in motion. Visit Subaru.ca.
Life is delicious when you shop El Safadi Brothers Mediterranean Supermarket. Hurry in for this week's specials.
Mediterranean dates, a wide variety to choose from, now only $9.99 per kilo.
Willie and Anwar, thank you for supporting El Safadi Brothers Mediterranean Supermarket. 2 locations to serve you.